Hello everyone, welcome back to Flying Solo with Kat, and today I will be talking about the 13th episode of The Bad Batch. This episode I will start with Omega, and then I will kind of go into the rest of the Bad Batch, just because it was kind of two different storylines in this episode. So I'm going to cover Omega first and all of the kids in the vault, and then I will go into the Clone Force 99, and of course Rampart. So sit back, relax, and hope you enjoy. So Omega is there. She looks freaking depressed. She's trying to connect with like the kids, and they seem to connect actually with Omega really well, especially with Eva. Um, and then we find out that we have Jax, right? And then we have Sammy, and we have, I believe it's pronounced Dreyer, or Dayer. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that or if I heard it wrong because I had subtitles on, but I missed it. But they're just so cute. And I love how Sammy specifically is kind of the mother figure in caring for Dayer. And I like that they didn't just forget about Dayer, that he's still there because that was kind of like an integral part with, Cad Bane and bringing him there. So I love seeing all of them. And I thought overall it was just really, if anything is going to happen to the kids, I will kill Hemlock myself. And they are just so cute, and everything about them, I want to know where they're from, especially the kids, and I'm hoping in a perfect world, right, which we know with Star Wars that normally happy endings don't really happen. They kind of do, kind of don't. So I'm just hoping all the kids are safe and okay at the end of this. Omega gets them out and they get returned to their families. And I'd love if, like, one of them takes Omega in, or let's say, like, their families are wanted by the Empire or something, and, like, the Clone Force 99 takes the kids in, or something around that. Or of Saw's Ventress, we bring her back and she kind of connects with them. So I'm interested to see where that goes. Emery knows that having Omega there could be a problem. It is a problem. I do think narratively it doesn't make sense for her to be there. They've had issues with her in the past. Of course, she's going to rally the troops and try to get them to revolt. Now, I do think this is just Hemlock and a little bit of Emery being just really clueless and a bit naive about, oh, well, they're just kids. What are they going to do? They are force sensitive. They have force powers. Now, granted, they don't know how to tap into them. And I'm wondering if Omega, because she trained with Asajj Ventress, she's going to have the kids try to tap into their force abilities. So I am interested to see how well that works and if there will be some force usage happening with the kids. Like I said though, I do think it is a bit narratively easy that she's just there, and of course she's gonna break out the kids, right? I mean, she's gonna break out the kids, right? I mean, there's no other way that she could go about it. So I do think, like I said, for the fourth time, narratively it's too easy, but I don't mind. I just hope that they're all okay and safe, and I love seeing them on screen. So that was one of the things also this episode too, is I want to see more of them before we get closer and closer to the finale. I believe there are, I think it's 21 episodes. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I do think we're around 21 episodes with this final season. So even though we're only on 13, I am a bit concerned that we're going to start running out of time to want to care about these kids even more. Like, I already care about them because they're so cute, but I personally want to know Jax's story. I want to know more about, we've spent a little bit more time with Eva than we have Jax, Sammy, or Dreyer. But I want to also see Sammy as well. I think she's so sweet, and I am interested to see why she's taking on that motherly role with Dayer and not Jax or Eva. Is she the oldest one? I think she might be, besides Omega. So I want to know more about them. I'm hoping like next episode will be dedicated to just Omega with the kids and them talking or having a safe space to talk. Omega is such a hunter. Honestly, I know like a couple episodes or this season, a lot of people were thinking, as well as myself, like, okay, she might start becoming a Crosshair. Like, she's kind of getting more influenced by Crosshair, but just how she sat down at that table and she basically said, I love a challenge. It just, and she kind of folded her hands. It was such Hunter vibes. And, she follows the best dad. So I thought that was just super sweet. Oh, yeah, she's breaking out. She's done it once before, and the kids know that now. So I think at this point, it's just a matter of how she's going to do it. Um, Omega, of course, steals a tool from Emery. I wonder if Emery kind of let her do that. I'm interested to see why. Because it seemed like Emery was like kind of giving her a look, like just kind of stared at her longingly. Like she knew, okay, you're gonna break out of here. I'm not gonna help you, but I'm also not gonna rat you out. So, but why didn't she wait till dark to go into that panel? Because the door is shut, right? So I'm like, why? Maybe because there was no daylight. You could kind of see when she opened those panels that there was, a way out. So I basically think that's why she didn't wait till dark, but I personally would have waited till the door shut so she could have had time. But I think she wanted to give the kids hope, like, hey, like, it is totally possible. We just need to work together to do this. So I think it was a bit too close of a call. But there's one way out. One way out. One way out. And by the way, today is Andy Serkis's birthday. Yay. I normally don't call out actors' birthdays, but he played two of the best characters, I think, in Star Wars to date. Of course, Snoke, the Supreme Leader, and Kino Deloy, who is one of, I think, the greatest characters of all time and in Star Wars. And her saying, and of course, I watched this today, which is Saturday, so it came out on Wednesday. But her saying, "That's our way out," and just in kind of like that, and then you had like the music like flare behind. I'm like, oh my god, one way out. And then I saw a couple people memeing it on Twitter, where, very much Andor vibes. So I love that today. Happy birthday, Andy Serkis, and one way out. I know they're gonna get out, and I know it's totally possible. It's just a matter of when and if they can all do it together. So very, very excited. Moving on to the Bad Batch and Clone Force 99. Echo is back. He's there. I'm kind of surprised I didn't see Rex. I think with Echo, it's so interesting because after he kind of left the Bad Batch to go with Rex, we don't really get to see much of him. Which is good and bad. I do think he was one of the weakest clones in personality wise. Please, Echo lovers, do not come for me. But I don't really feel anything when he's back. But I'm also like, where have you been? I want to know like an Echo Rex Ahsoka adventure, because I know Rex is totally tied with Ahsoka, which leads into all of that stuff. So I'm not too sure what's going on with Echo, but I mean, he's back. There's not much we could do. Rampart is so freaking funny. I love him so much. I love when Star Wars takes these characters that we're supposed to hate or that we did hate at one time and like totally fleshes them out and makes them such a important part of the narrative. And for one thing, that's what you want when you're storytelling, when you can take characters that people hated, people had a previous notion on, and not even rewrite them in a way, but show more of them to make your viewers, your readers, connect with them. And this is something I love about storytelling, and specifically Star Wars, I feel, has done it the best. Overall in all the movies and TV shows, where you are taking characters that were previously pretty bad. And Rampart is still not good. He's still pro-Empire. But bringing more of the funny side out in him makes you want to connect with him more. You know he's evil. You still kind of don't like him. You want the Bad Batch to make it, make their lives easier. But Rampart just being there and constantly being sarcastic. My favorite line from this episode, besides the one way out, was, "I can't wear this. It's a captain's uniform. I was a vice admiral." I think that is honestly the Empire incarnate, just with that one line. And the fact that I can just quote that, like, out of the blue, It's such a good line. I love it so much. And you all know, I'm a huge fan of Imperials and just, I know they're so bad and terrible. And that's why I liked Andor, showing them to be just terrible people. But I love when Star Wars as well brings out the comedy side of these Imperials, of these fascists, and, sprinkles in a little bit of George Lucas in there and saying, no, these are terrible people. They've done terrible things, but let's also add a little comedy and make them kind of the butt of the joke. And I feel like it's that segment of the podcast, guys, to where I talk about Hux for 5 minutes. I feel like that was kind of done with Hux in The Last Jedi, and I feel like Ryan almost hit the mark on that, and it was very important for him to channel George Lucas in that way in previous installments of Star Wars, of showing Imperials or showing villains that were part of the military in a very comedic um, light. And I feel like Ryan almost hit the mark. I feel like with The Last Jedi, I still very much need to talk about this movie in length, and I haven't yet. It is such a it tries to handle too much. It tries to be dark in some moments, then it tries to be funny in others, and narratively it kind of makes sense, but tonally you start to see that shift and it's kind of jarring. So I feel like Rampart and Agent Callus as well is another great example in Rebels of taking a character that was previously disliked and previously only saw him in a certain light, to where he's actually working with our heroes, and we get to see him in a more agreeable light, but still have that same essence. I think with Hux, the difference was that he didn't work with our heroes until the last installment, with when Last Jedi was trying to bring more comedy to him and kind of, make him more slapstick, when it totally wasn't working. With the Rise of Skywalker, I feel like it would have worked a tiny bit better, but then again, that movie tonally was just really dark and, as well as depressing and sad. So I feel like tonally it didn't really work in the sequels, having the Imperials be more kind of bumbling idiots. Um, I wanted them to, quite honestly, and I think JJ as well wanted them to be more like an Andor type, to where they were bad. You saw no good qualities in them. Now, of course, that we've had the comics come out, we get to see more of the humanization of Hux and other Imperials, as well as Phasma, Cardinal, V, and, well, V is not, but she, kind of got to tell us a story about Phasma, and as well as, I think, just a lot of the First Order personnel. I think you can really flesh them out to make them, um, these characters that you kind of change your perspectives on. But I don't know. We'll probably get another installment in the next 10 years that dives more into that. But coming back to the Bad Batch and Rampart, I think it was done really well, and I'm starting to really like him, even though I know he's still on the side of the Empire, and I loved that line. I was on the edge of my seat with the ship transfer. I quite honestly didn't know if they were gonna make it. I mean, considering the last couple episodes when Crosshair, missed that tracking shot on that shuttle, I was like, oh shoot, are they gonna miss this again? And then we're gonna have a whole thing. But then I was also like, okay, we don't have time for that. So I was happy that they stuck it. Like I said, I was on the edge of my seat. I liked all the things about Coruscant and having, like, the Empire's doing more of a crackdown on the, like, chain codes, recycle every rotation. And I think that the Empire's starting to see, like, okay, people are using those for, like, not, Imperial purposes. So that's why they're starting to crack down on it, because I believe they didn't used to do that. And now you're starting to see, like, okay, they're starting to crack down on it. But it's also kind of comical that it's really easy to break into these Imperial places, and I feel like that's just the Empire, as it is. And I loved how Rampart was, like, directing all of these orders, and he was like, oh, I missed this. And I thought that was just great. It's Rampart is like Callus if Callus wasn't an ISB agent, and definitely wore the uniform. I mean, going from vice admiral to working in an imperial camp is like pretty sad. And I'm interested to see if Rampart's gonna get more humanization from that, to where the Bad Batch have kind of brought it up, but they've also not really, Rampart hasn't really commented on it, to where, the Empire betrayed you, just like us, so like, why are you still devoted to him? And I think that's one of the main things of the Empire, is that people are so, it's part of their blood, right? So they feel like that's their purpose. So when they get pushed out of that purpose, or pushed out of that work path, they don't know what to do with themselves. And I feel like that is hopefully going to be shown in the season 2 of Andor, as well as just Rampart kind of realizing that. I think it's really satisfying when Imperial realizes, oh, we're the bad guys. Oh, uh-oh. So that was great. I'm glad they got the ship transfer. The music was super intense this episode. I don't know why. I didn't think it was off. It was very intense. I really didn't think they were going to make it. So I was happy that they got there. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I think Rampart and Omega kind of made it for me. And it's really bad now, because now I just want to see more Rampart. And I love that people now are liking him a bit more. I think another, I guess, comment on this week's is a lot of people were saying, oh, it's so great. I, actually really like Rampart now. And we're saying all this stuff, and people were like, he's still a fascist. Like, you can't like him or whatever. And it's like, people, oh my God, come on. Like, when you have these characters, yes, they're still evil. Like, nothing is being changed besides your enjoyment out of watching that character. I did not enjoy watching Rampart in season 2 at all, when he was just sitting behind a desk. I thought he was really annoying, and he didn't have much characterization. He was just another Imperial or another Vice Admiral that was giving orders, and kind of made it harder for the characters that we like to live. With him now, he's kind of stripped of everything, and it's nice to see a character that you previously hated kind of just not having a good time, and bringing that comedy out with it, I think works. So don't bash people for liking characters that they previously hated. Again, one thing I like about Star Wars is that they're always developing characters. They're bringing old characters back. They're introducing new characters that will probably be brought back as well. And it's one thing that Star Wars, I think, does way differently than any other franchise. I think Marvel touches on it a bit, or even goes the opposite route with Wanda, and kind of making her more of a humanized villain or an anti-hero. But I think with Star Wars, they have the opportunity to bring out the comedy in such a fresh, not jarring way. And I think with Marvel, sometimes it's just like, it's always comedy, comedy, comedy. So you never have those dark tones. But with the Bad Batch, I mean, I love that we're getting the comedy with the action, with the darker tones. So overall, episode was great. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. And honestly, next episode, I think Omega's gonna just keep hanging out with the kids, and maybe they try escaping and it fails. I will cry if that happens. And I don't know. I really don't know what's gonna happen next. I do think that it's gonna be with Omega and the kids, though. I don't know if we'll see Clone Force 99 for a bit. So, very excited. Well, thank you guys for listening, and I will see you guys